Welcome to Sheikh Hamdan's fans official channel, where poetry meets passion. Let's dive into a captivating ode. That day was ablaze with radiance, but my gaze was captivated by a single, resplendent star. She was the embodiment of my every waking thought. Her presence wasn't just a want, it was an essential rhythm that made life worth living. Her beauty was undeniable, a masterpiece that would be foolish to ignore. Yet, it was the symphony of her laughter that soothed the rugged edges of a chaotic day. The unwavering conviction in her voice left an indelible mark, and her presence possessed a magical quality that made the weight of the world feel effortlessly lighter. Morning's familiar rush enveloped me, a hurried routine, a breakfast devoid of savor, and the cacophony of the daily commute. Yet, amidst the chaos, thoughts of her persisted, refusing to be silenced. My mind wandered back to the moment we first met, a memory that felt as vivid as yesterday. That chance encounter at the coffee shop seemed insignificant at the time. A spilled drink, her gentle laughter, and the simple kindness of her offering me napkins. Now, it had become etched in my memory, a moment that had changed everything. As midday approached, a quiet, insistent thought took hold in my chest, a realization that wouldn't let go. It whispered a truth that felt both exhilarating and terrifying: you need her forever. As I sat at my desk, a familiar thought resurfaced, but this time it felt different. The idea of marriage, once a distant notion, now seemed pressing. Years of being together had lulled me into a sense of complacency, but suddenly the future felt uncertain. My gaze drifted blankly across the computer screen, the words blurring together as my mind wandered. The cursor pulsed rhythmically, a reminder of my waning productivity. I struggled to focus on the reports in front of me, but my thoughts remained elusive, consumed by the nagging question: what was I waiting for? My task list remained untouched, forgotten in the haze of memories. Her face lingered in my mind's eye, those piercing eyes, that radiant smile, the way her head tilted ever so slightly when amusement danced across her features. A coworker's inquiry about meeting a deadline barely registered, my muttered response unconvincing. My distraction was palpable, my focus shattered by visions of her. Time lost all meaning as the day dissolved into a lovesick reverie. By the time I packed up to leave, my mind was made up. The uncertainty had vanished, replaced by a sense of clarity and purpose. I couldn't wait to see her. My fingers flew across the keyboard as I sent a hasty message: want to grab dinner tonight? Her response was almost instantaneous: sure, where? I hesitated, unsure of the perfect spot, but I knew I wanted it to be somewhere meaningful, somewhere that echoed the depth of my emotions. As I arrived to pick her up, I'd settled on our cherished hideaway, a quaint, unassuming restaurant that wrapped us in warmth and intimacy. Its understated charm was the perfect backdrop for the evening ahead. And then, she emerged. My breath caught in my throat. She was radiant, her elegance effortless, as if she'd stepped out of a dream. The simple dress she wore seemed to shimmer in the fading light, illuminating the gentle curves of her face. Her smile was a whispered promise, and I felt the weight of my decision settle within me, a gentle, reassuring pressure that anchored me to the present. You look stunning, I whispered, the words barely audible over the pounding of my heart. As she settled into the passenger seat, I couldn't help but offer a sincere compliment: you look breathtaking. Her smile was a gentle bloom, illuminating the evening. With a delicate touch, she brushed a stray strand of hair from her face, her eyes sparkling with warmth. You're too kind, she whispered, her voice a soft melody. The evening unfolded like a tender serenade, our laughter and conversation intertwining like the threads of a rich tapestry. Time stood still as we savored the simple joy of being together, our connection a gentle flame that warmed the heart. Beneath the warmth of our evening together, a quiet tension simmered within me. Unspoken thoughts swirled, seeking expression. I hunted for the perfect opening, the ideal phrase to unlock the emotions I'd been harboring. The moment hung elusive, until the waiter arrived with a sweet reprieve: a shared plate of tiramisu. As the creamy dessert landed between us, the atmosphere began to vibrate with possibility. She bridged the space, her hand extending across the table. Her fingers grazed mine, sending shivers down my spine. She smiled with an unnerving intimacy, as if she could see the very soul of me and loved me all the more for it. I'm so glad we did this, she whispered, her voice a soothing balm to my frazzled nerves. It's been a long week, and I needed this. Something within me shifted, and I knew I couldn't keep my emotions bottled up any longer. I need to tell you something, I said, my voice surprisingly steady despite the turmoil brewing inside. Her head tilted, curiosity sparkling in her eyes. What's on your mind? She asked, her tone gentle, inviting. The words burst forth like a dam breaking, releasing a torrent of emotions I'd been struggling to contain. Before doubt could creep in, I blurted out the truth. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Her eyes widened, her hand hovering above her glass as if time itself had paused. The silence was a palpable, pulsing thing, an eternity of anticipation condensed into a single, suspended moment. I know this isn't the way it's usually done, I stumbled on, words tumbling forth in a heartfelt, if imperfect, declaration. But I couldn't wait any longer. You're everything to me. Will you marry me? Her eyes glistened, and for an instant, I feared she might cry. Then, her face transformed, a radiant smile spreading like sunlight across her features. Yes, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the thundering of my heart. In that instant, nothing else mattered, no rings, no grand gestures, no meticulously crafted plans. Only her answer, and the way she looked at me, as if I were her entire universe. That was the day I knew I'd spend forever with her, the day I realized love doesn't wait for perfect timing, but for the moment when your heart recognizes its home. The days that followed were a dream-like haze, as if the world had shifted on its axis, bathing everything in a soft, golden light. Yet beneath the euphoria, a subtle undercurrent of uncertainty stirred. I'd departed from tradition, no ring, no formal proposal, no clear roadmap ahead. All I had was her yes, and though that was everything, I yearned to make this moment feel as momentous as it deserved. The morning after, I woke before dawn, my mind racing with the promise of forever. My usual routine, coffee, shower, work prep, felt foreign, as if I were navigating a new landscape. As I went through the motions of daily life, my mind wandered to the only person who truly mattered. Memories of the previous night swirled, a kaleidoscope of emotions. Every whispered promise, every tender glance, the radiant smile that had sealed our fate. It was a night that was both flawlessly perfect and beautifully imperfect, a reflection of our love itself. I was consumed by the desire to convey the depth of my devotion, to transcend the limitations of language and reveal the unshakable commitment that filled my heart. I longed to show her that my love was a boundless, endless sea, one that would cradle her for all eternity. As the day wore on, a singular thought crystallized. I needed to find her the perfect ring. Not because I believed material possessions could encapsulate our love, but because it felt like a tangible vow, a symbol of the promises I'd made. Yet, as I stood at the threshold of this unfamiliar world, I felt daunted. Jewelry stores weren't my domain. The pressure of selecting a token that would represent our forever felt crushing. After work, I mustered the courage to step into a store I'd often passed but never entered. The interior was dazzling, yet intimidating, glass cases glinting with a kaleidoscope of stones, each one whispering promises of eternity. My heart quickened as I realized the weight of this task, finding the one ring that would speak directly to her heart. As I stepped into the store, the air enveloped me in a subtle scent of refinement and expertise. A warm smile greeted me from across the room, as a seasoned associate approached. "Looking for something special?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. I hesitated, feeling a flutter in my chest, before revealing my quest, an engagement ring. Her face illuminated with delight. "Congratulations," she exclaimed. But as I delved into the complexities of my search, I felt the weight of my task. How could I distill the essence of the woman I loved into a single, exquisite piece of jewelry? I attempted to convey the nuances of her character, her effortless elegance, her disdain for ostentation, and her radiant inner light. The associate listened with rapt attention, her nods and smiles a testament to her investment in my story. As we embarked on this journey together, I felt a sense of hope rising within me. Perhaps, just perhaps, we could craft a symbol that would do justice to the love we shared, a love that shone brighter with each passing day. As I struggled to put into words the essence of the woman I loved, the associate listened with an intuitive smile. Simple, yet meaningful, she distilled, capturing the heart of my description. With a knowing glint in her eye, she guided me to a secluded case, where a single, exquisite ring awaited. The modest yet breathtaking design took my breath away. A slender band cradling a solitary, round diamond. Timeless, understated, and imbued with a quiet elegance, it shone with a soft, ethereal light, an unerring reflection of her own gentle beauty. In that instant, I knew my search was at an end. Without hesitation, I made my decision, the ring's beauty and significance rendering all further deliberation unnecessary. As I gazed at the small box on my desk, the weight of its significance settled upon me. The slight panic about the cost dissipated, replaced by the realization that some things transcend monetary value. That night, I pondered the perfect moment to give it to her, but grand gestures felt wrong. She wasn't one for crowds or ostentation. She cherished sincerity, quiet moments that felt genuine. The next evening, I invited her over for dinner. She arrived with her signature effortless elegance, carrying a bottle of wine and smiling as if the world had melted away. We shared laughter, savoring the simple joys of each other's company. As the evening unfolded, the ring box seemed to burn a hole in my pocket. My heart racing, palms sweating, I struggled to focus on her words. Finally, as we settled on the couch, I silenced my doubts. "I have something for you," I said, my voice trembling. Her brows furrowed in curiosity. "What is it?" I pulled out the box, my hands shaking as I revealed the ring. Her eyes widened, and for a moment, she simply stared. "I know I already asked," I continued, words tumbling forth, "but I wanted to do this properly. You deserve something beautiful, something meaningful. Will you marry me?" The silence that followed was palpable, but her expression, soft, tearful, and radiant, spoke volumes. She reached out, her fingers brushing the ring, before meeting my gaze. "You didn't have to do this," she whispered, "but it's perfect. You're perfect." As I slid the ring onto her finger, it fit as if destined. She leaned in, forehead against mine, and we savored the stillness. In that instant, I grasped a profound truth: proposals, rings, and traditions aren't what make love real. It's moments like these, intimate, quiet, and authentic, that speak directly to the heart. As the night unfolded, the world receded, leaving only the promise of forever, sealed